Thank you, everybody, for joining. 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time call here. A little bit different than our Fridays used to be, but hopefully this is a little better for everybody. Welcome to our REIA Now update. As a monthly call and a monthly update, we welcome everyone here. We always want to start off with our thank yous, and one of the key pieces to that is recognizing who one of our key sponsors is. And for that point, we want to make sure we recognize Home Depot Pro. If you are not engaged with your local real estate investor association, who's a partner and a member with the National Real Estate Investor Association, you're missing out. I can tell you just the other day, stopping in at Home Depot, ran my card through, and immediately like, oh, sir, your email's already coming to you. You're all set. So again, those are great benefits, and we want to thank Home Depot and appreciate their support on this. With that, we do want to mention also, as far as disclaimers go, let me go to disclaimers first. Hold on. We'll get over to the disclaimer real quick, and that is we are not giving financial advice. We are not giving legal advice, even if we are attorneys or other aspects of fiduciaries on here. Please make sure you seek your own. We are giving you information, and we want to make sure that you use it to the best of your ability. So we encourage you to go seek your own advice on that. Having said that, let's go to the agenda. I have a couple of interesting things today. We did have our legislative agenda last month, so we are going to keep that brief today. Ideally, Matt Keelen will be joining us. I know he's got an issue he's dealing with in DC right now, so ideally he'll be joining us. And then from there, we'll be turning it over to Brad is actually going to take on and be our interviewer, and our interviewee is Tom Begora, who is our highlight this month and or for this session. And Brad actually knows a little more about him and is going to do an interview with him. And we're looking forward to hearing more about Tom and appreciate Tom coming on. So with that, I'm going to jump in here. Matt, I see you're on here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, Charles, how are you?
You're held up somewhere in the Capitol. I appreciate you taking a few minutes with us here.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, Lori, we'll switch over to person view if you would. And we appreciate Lori handling this. She's actually on the road managing the behind the scenes everything. So, all right, Matt, thank you for joining us here. Real quick, you want to give us an update on HR 3464, which is the Affordable Homeownership Access Act.
Yes, absolutely, Charles. So met with Congressman Barr right before the last recess. He comes back in this Wednesday, and they're hoping to have something moved through his subcommittee some point before the Memorial Day recess. One thing that Andy has asked us to do, as well as Vicente Gonzalez, who's the other co-lead Democrat from Texas, is to try to get a couple more co-sponsors. What we have found to be effective is having people back home write in or call to their member of Congress, let us know about it when we do. REIA has been a tremendous asset for us with the grassroots power that you guys have. So if we could try to bring that to bear, I'll send Charles some targets, but certainly every member of Congress is important. They asked us to get at least 4 more co-sponsors before they were to move the bill.
Yep.
And we are trying to get a Senate bill dropped with your home state senator, J.D. Vance, and a couple other folks like Senator Katie Britt from Alabama and John Kennedy from Louisiana. We have started to get a little bit of pushback from the mortgage brokers and the community banks because Andy is making it very well known that he wants to move the bill. So we'll likely have a negotiation session with them like we have had in the past, walking through the bill and trying to get them to not oppose. As Charles could tell you in the past, their opposition was beaten down pretty fast with facts, and we'll probably have to go through that once again. And we're prepared to do that. Charles, I'm sure, will be here along with some of the other leaders of the Seller Finance Coalition to help Andy and Vicente get the bill up and moving through subcommittee.
That sounds great. And then while you were talking, I went ahead and shared a link on our chat, which includes the link for anybody who wants to go through our process and do an outreach, and it will just, you can follow that link and it will take you to HR 3464, and it's the Affordable Home Ownership Act, and you can encourage your congressman, and it's based on your email address and your physical address. So that's a great way to reach out, and they actually get that, and that's a good push. I would encourage, again, Ohio, Alabama, Louisiana, to make sure we get involved as well. And we can do some separate pushes on that, Matt, and you want to follow up, I'll get that out of some separate pushes to key leaders on that. We appreciate that. So I've talked about in the past, and I talked a little bit last month about this legislature has been one of the lowest production legislatures we've had in our history as a country. We are building up into a election year, or where I should say we're already there. Where are we at? What do you see legislatively occurring? Where do you see it going over the next 3 to 6 months, if anywhere?
So it's a great question, Charles, and a great observation. Some conservatives would say less government is better. So not having the government actively pushing laws that may infringe upon their personal rights or their businesses is a good thing, but there's certainly some things that we all agree on that we would like to get done, like the seller finance bill, that would be nice to have some push. But to give you an idea of where the House of Representatives is right now, the Republicans have a 1-seat majority. So if one Republican gets sick and doesn't show up for a day of voting, they really can't vote because they could lose control of the floor to the Democrats. They started the session with a 5-seat majority. They lost 1 seat due to a special election, and the rest is all early retirements, including a guy in your home state there, Bill Johnson, who will be replaced in June. So that'll get the numbers back up. And there's some big ticket items that Speaker Johnson has had to already navigate, and he's done a pretty good job of getting through some of the appropriations and budget stuff, all of which starts up again for this year, right after he finally got last year's done a couple of weeks ago. But this week we have the FISA bill that is up without it getting reauthorized. The intelligence community will lose the ability to use that as a tool. Unfortunately, they have abused that right over the last several years. So it's become a much more controversial thing than it was in the past. But there's a big push from the intelligence community to get that done. And then there's Ukraine funding, Israel funding, and the border funding, all of which is being at least attempted to put together to try to string enough votes to get all 3 of those things passed. All you got to do is walk around any community, if anybody is on the phone right now, to know that the southern border is a massive problem. And a lot of people, at least on the right side of the aisle, are saying we're not going to address Ukraine's border issue without addressing our border issue. And when you only have a one vote majority, it's tough to have a bill that is just a Republican bill. And some of those people that are holdouts don't like it when the Republicans work with the Democrats to get something passed. So we've already had one person put a thing called a motion to vacate the chair, which would take Speaker Johnson out. Again, we've already, if you're a Republican like myself, we've already lost 5 weeks of our majority through problems with electing a speaker, and we really can't afford to go through that again. So it's just frustrating for everybody here.
So with big issues like that at the top, and the likelihood is they're going to have to be passed at least bipartisan somewhat, because Republicans only control the House, Democrats control the Senate, Democrats control in the administration. How does anything get moved forward? Are we looking at just a gridlock from here on out?
So the best way to play it right now is to try to play small ball and get things done at the committee level, and hopefully in one of the bodies where we can pass our bill through that. that puts us in a position to attach it to bigger pieces of legislation that are going to move. There will be some things that definitely do pass, and we got to be playing for right now singles and doubles and walks, and not looking to hit a grand slam. No one's hitting grand slams in Washington D.C. these days, but those that all they care about is trying to hit the grand slam or missing the opportunity for singles and doubles. So that's really we got to get ready for some good old fashioned small ball.
Understood. Well, we appreciate it. Any other words of advice or wisdom for us?
We will have another fly-in coming in. Charles can tell you how important it is for us to tell legislators about the great work that we're doing in their communities, providing opportunity, providing investment. If we're not filling in the messaging, somebody else is filling it for us. And at this point, in communities, every single dollar that's being spent and invested is important. So we are, I believe, strongly the white hats in this argument and in this fight. So we just got to put our white hats on and come tell our stories. And then even better to have some of our customers do the same thing.
Well, I appreciate that. And we will look forward to sharing that information out when we get the fly-in date scheduled. In the meantime, we'll see about working on two of our other folks that are running again in Ohio here. We have both Derek Marin, who's running, and Kevin Coughlin. Kevin's on here today, both running. Hopefully they'll join you up there in DC and representing our great state as well. So look forward to that.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it.
See you guys. Thank you.
So as a quick wrap up, let me just touch on a couple other issues real quick. And HUD, with legislative issues tied up and locked in, as you can hear, not much is moving. Lowest number of pieces of legislation passed in the last, since the beginning of the country. This is one of those things where we're looking at the regulatory response is really what we've got to pay attention to. So I'm going to share a couple of things with you. Most recently, HUD has, if you're aware, the Fair Housing Month has bounced around a little bit. It's been in April, it's been in June, it's been in October, it's now back to April. So it keeps jumping around. One of the things that's important though is about $30 million worth of grants were sent out. And what that means is there's a lot of money that's been floating out there, and that money does a couple of different things. So I'm going to share with you a link, and this is where some of the money is going to. So if you are in one of those communities, make sure from a leadership perspective, your local REIA, you are reaching out to them. This is a little over $16 million in private enforcement initiative, which means hiring testers. So just be aware that's out there now. Another 9.4 million, excuse me, in education and outreach initiatives. And then an additional about $500,000 in some tester coordination pieces, and then an additional $4 million in for housing organizations to get funded and get organizations set up even more, which is always an interesting one as we come into an election year, that you're getting structures set up. So just I'll put that out there as perspective, but that's a little over $30 million that's flowing into some of our fair housing groups that are across the country. And if you take a look at the list, there's quite a few of them. Reach out to them, touch base with them, invite them to come out, utilize some of their funds in teaching our folks, make sure our folks are up to speed on what fair housing is. We want to make sure we are not discriminating, and especially at a time when they're doing increased testing. So let's make sure we're on the right side of the law and making sure we're not discriminating. Additionally, I want to mention April is also National Healthy Homes Month. Now, what that means is a variety of things from a scientific perspective, a health perspective, but it's also a combination EPA and HUD effort to make sure that homes are healthy. Now, there are some additional funds and efforts that are going to come out over the next couple of weeks here. And what those are going to be is focused grants on make sure that houses are lead free, that they do not have uranium gas, radon sliding into them, that there are no mold issues, making sure that all these things are being addressed. So healthy homes is one of the next steps as well. And that has over the last several years expanded into other concepts, including from domestic abuse, to a variety of other aspects of what does a healthy home look like or a safe home look like. So you'll see that. And of course, April is also, yes, I'm not kidding, we've tripled it up. It is also Second Chance Month. So this is for incarcerated or previously incarcerated folks, giving them a second chance, and housing is a key piece of that. So this administration is very much focused on what they term as an all of government approach. So they are bringing all of government to the table when it comes to people who've been previously incarcerated. And there's a degree to which we need to, as Americans, recognize that if you've done your time, then have you actually paid your debt to society? And that's something that we still struggle with and are still having dialogue on. So be aware that this is going to be an effort, and you maybe these same fair housing groups may be reaching out to you saying, hey, we want to talk to you about what does it take to have somebody who was previously in jail and get them plugged back into the community. And housing is going to be a key piece of that. So be aware that, make sure you're having dialogue on that, and be open to coming to the table to have that conversation. So with that, I want to wrap up, and I will mention one word, which everybody is aware of. It is generating across the country: squatters. Squatters, squatters, squatters. It is, I love some of the news coming out because people have had enough of it. They realized how we are being taken advantage of. And this is something that we're starting to see some laws change on it. So you're going to see more of that coming out. You're going to see more information on that. So I just say that's good news that there has been a pushback to say you can't do this in our country. So we'll keep sharing that information out with you, but look for more of that coming. Please take a look at the different links that we posted. If you have not already sent in to your congressman to ask them to co-sponsor HR 3464, please do so. As you heard from Matt, it is very important and is very impactful. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad, and looking forward to the meat of our meeting. And Brad?
Thank you,
please.
Charles. Did it take over? Am I on? Oh, there's Tom. My name is Brad Beckett, and I'm the Director of Education Outreach here at National REIA. Many of you already know me. And today we have the pleasure of having Tom Begora join us. Tom is a member of the North Metro REIA, just north of Atlanta in Marietta, Georgia, which is Pete Young's REIA. I believe Pete's on the call. And Tom, as you know, every quarter we feature I don't know if this disappeared. We feature a member in the Real Estate Journal. And it's a member that's just a normal person out there who's been there, done that, investing in real estate, and they talk about their journey, and they share their life. So we've asked Tom if he could join us today and kind of tell us about his experiences and just give us a little background. In the chat box, I'm going to put a link to, you can learn more about Tom. But Tom, tell us how you got involved in real estate. Now, I do know from reading it that you were on your way to Florida for a vacation and you got derailed, and that's how it got started.
Yeah, we were actually on our way. We were in Wisconsin at the time, in Racine, Wisconsin. I worked for AT&T. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. And we stopped there. That was like the halfway point, and we saw that houses were so inexpensive back in the time. And we saw a house, and we decided to just look at it. We drove all 12 hours and just decided to look at it. And next thing you know, we called the realtor, and the realtor kind of helped us out, and we bought it.
Huh.
And never made it back. Never made it back to Fort Myers.
So you never made it to Florida. You never made it to your vacation.
No, we never made it to vacation. The realtor put us up in a hotel, and it was the weekend. And she says, if you can wait a few days, we can get an answer and we can get this all done. I was so impressed of how she kind of handled everything. Then I went ahead and got my license, and I worked for that same firm.
How long ago was that? How long ago?
That was 91.
91. So you've been investing in real estate now, gosh, 33 years?
Well, at first I didn't invest because I just thought I'm a realtor and I'll just go ahead and sell houses. And then I started being a property manager for somebody that was actually doing houses that I was finding for him. And he was explaining how to do it. And that's kind of how I got started with it. And I got my first one back, it was an NQNE, which, they're no longer around. And kind of worked that through that way. But I had no money. I had some kids, and so I did a cash advance on the credit card, thinking that was the best way I could do this. And since then, we've kind of invested houses. We've done all sorts of, my favorite is subject twos. I like that the best. Owner financing, and also I do the DSCR loans. I just
So
find
when
those
you
are
did
very,
when you did your first investment, you actually used your credit card,
yeah,
and
yeah, I did a cash advance.
and you learned some
because-
valuable lessons from that.
Yeah, it was pretty expensive. It was pretty expensive, and then I didn't have money for repairs. So every time a repair would come up, then I would have to also use the credit card again. And they said, just hold on to it, hold on to it. And I held on to it for a short time, and then I sold it. But if I would have held on to it now, we all look back at houses that we shouldn't have sold, and that's one I shouldn't have sold.
Well, I think you said in your interview that it was be worth 3 times as much as you paid for it if you held on to it.
Yeah, that at that time it was about 78,000, and today that neighborhood's in the 300s. And so,
And
yeah,
Is that in Metro Atlanta somewhere?
it's in Kennesaw,
Okay,
Georgia.
cool. Now, do
That's
you?
north of Atlanta.
That's your area. Is that where you do most of your business? And
I do most of my business in Bartow County, Cherokee County, and Cobb County.
okay,
I like Bartow. I like all those counties. I don't go to Atlanta too much anymore. Used to do Atlanta, used to do Macon area, which is south of Atlanta, but it's just too far. And so now I've kind of kept it closer to home, to Cherokee and Bartow and Cobb.
what are your current projects you've got going on?
So we've got one that's coming up on the 15th. I'm partnering with a guy in California, and it's a complete rehab inside. It's a 1940s house. It's in Rockmart, Georgia. And so that we've got everything. We've got the septic backing into the house, and so we've got a nice smell to it, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Well, I have a septic tank myself, and I'm always worried about it and taking care of it. But
yeah, what they did was the washing machine was never plumbed for outside, so it went under the house, and then the septic itself comes up, so obviously it's clogged and it's old and it's
so was the gray water from the washing machine separate or going into the septic?
separate.
Okay, so you combine the two, and you're working all that
Well,
out.
we hope to. Yeah, we hope
Okay,
to.
yeah, right.
Yeah, and yeah, the floor is very wobbly, that's for sure. So it's
Wow.
not very safe to go in.
Now, when we did your profile, we had a picture of a mobile home that you rehabbed in Florida.
Yeah. So that was my parents' place,
Okay,
and so that was after the storm, and so
Okay.
that they stayed here for 3.5, 4 months, and then we had different people rehab that. I'm pretty much hands off. I make the phone calls and make sure that everybody does what they're supposed to do. I'm not very good with the hammer and stuff, but I know what needs to be done. So it makes it interesting.
now you're a member of Pete Youngs's group,
Yeah.
and I know you do some teaching. You want to tell us about that?
So I do some teaching about subject twos, options, and also I'm now teaching a little bit about the DSCR loans. And so I've learned most of the stuff from Pete and Tony, and Bill Cook is pretty much, I attend them and learned pretty much everything I know through them. And
What would you say has been one of your top struggles in this business?
My biggest thing is that I don't always want to do. I'm afraid to make the offer sometime because I don't think they're going to take it, and because sometimes I look at it and say I wouldn't do that deal, and I talk myself out of it, and it's a tough battle because you want to do the right thing, but at the same time we're here to solve problems, and you're solving a problem, but the solution isn't something that I would do. And so some of these houses I make offers on, I have to remember that I'm not living in it. I'm not, and I have to remember that when I'm rehabbing it too. So, a house of 1940s house that we're buying, I'm not going to put the high end items in there like I would in a normal house that I would live in.
Sure.
So,
well, and you did note that if you can't solve people's problems, you help give them alternative solutions.
yeah, I try to do that. I try to pass it on. Sometimes it's for them to do bankruptcy. Sometimes it's for them to do just different. It's best to retail, maybe sell it to an open door, an offer pad, sell it to another wholesaler. I just sometimes can't make my numbers work. My numbers are my numbers, and I can't really go too much away from that.
Sure.
So, but some of the offers I make, you know, I get a little shy about making them because I'm like, yeah, I know what they're going to say. So that's my big struggle.
What's your work week look like?
So I have two companies. I have the Key Real Estate Solutions, and I have 16 agents there. And then my license is also with Keller Williams, and I also have a team there, and I also do taxes. So it's been a very, very busy 4 months here. I do taxes for individuals, businesses, S corporations, C corporations, all that kind of stuff.
Someone just asked a question. How do you find distressed properties in this market?
So that's I find them mostly by door knocking. We do door knocking. We do drive-bys. We look for those vacant homes. I don't have a lot of social media. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if I'm on Facebook. So
Didn't you say your kids might have something for you?
yeah, they might have
No idea.
something set up for me. But I don't do anything with that. I get a lot of calls that people know that I buy houses, and they know. So that the distressed properties are found, you know, by drive-bys. I also use Realty Track, and so I can see the pre-foreclosures. So I learned something from Tony, that kind of you find that hidden market, and so we do that driving and see if we can find those garage sales and kind of go in that direction. But that's mostly how I find them. And
Yeah,
then
you mentioned garage sales and estate sales.
right.
The
Those are
estate
kind of
sales.
those are my favorite. And I like to do those around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock on a Saturday or a Sunday. And the reason is it's the mindset of the seller, you know, the people at the garage sale at the time. So they're kind of beat down. You know, if you go at 9 o'clock in the morning, they've got one perspective, and then at 3 o'clock they're pretty much tired. So that's the time to ask them, are you going to be selling this house? You're running a garage sale. Do you know anybody that might be wanting to sell? Things like that. And I find that works well. And so you leave your card out there. And then I also give, I ordered on Amazon $1,000 bills. And I say, hey, if you know somebody that does want to buy a house or sell a house, or if I buy a house or any of those, you know, things happen, I'll give you this $1,000 bill, but I'll turn it into something else. So that's kind of a bird dog fee. So it's kind of neat, because to see $1,000 bill, obviously it's not real. You can buy them on Amazon for $14 for 100 of them, and you just pass them out. And so they kind of remember, and you put your business card on the backside. So that's a way that people know that I'll give them a referral fee on it.
That's certainly an attention getter.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Now, do you have any mentors? Anybody that's really influenced you in the business?
Bill Cook, Pete Young, and those are the two that like are my mentors. I look up to them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then switching gears a little bit, you're in the journal. I think we had a picture of your son, who was a star baseball player in college.
Yes. So he was last year he was player of the year for Young Harris. That picture was from when he was at Motlow, and Motlow picked him up. Young Harris picked him up, and he's been able to play this year. He's playing very well. He's, you know, it's a D2 school. He'll graduate in May, but he can play baseball another year. So we try to get out there as soon as we can to see him on his games.
Is he going to go professional, or is he going to go?
He'd like to. He's almost there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean, not to say because he's my son, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's so you can always find him on Young Harris baseball, and you can watch the games online, which is kind of neat. If I can't make the game, I can watch it on the big TV. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that is neat. Someone just asked, what trends are you seeing in older homes? Any remodels or anything?
The trends I'm finding is that people, it depends on the neighborhood, but for the big thing with the trends is that I'm seeing those houses are starting to go cheaper, the older homes. And the reason is that the inspectors are getting a little tougher on everything, and they realize that, you know, this one we're buying has still the knobs for the electrical, so the whole electrical panel has to come out. And so the electrical panel, years ago wasn't that bad and the inspectors weren't that bad, but now with inspectors and everything else, it's getting a bit in permits and things that you might have got away with in the past. Now you can't really get away with. So the older home trends I'm finding around here are going down, but once they're fixed up, we have a neighborhood called Atco, and Atco is really taken off, and that's in Cartersville. And so now those houses you could have bought 2 years ago for 70, 80,000 are in the 200s. So they are starting to rehab them. But you find a lot of deals in the older neighborhoods too, around here. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I do know, on the personal note again, that you have a pet pony and a pet pig.
Yep. We got Sugar Pie and we got Penny, and then we have 5 chickens, and then we've just gotten 5 more little chickens. And as a matter of fact, about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, the news was out here, the local news, and they did an interview with my wife and about the little farm she's got going and
That's
the
really
chickens. So we should be on the news in the Atlanta area tonight. Or Tammy will be, my wife. So it's kind of interesting. So she runs that and does that. So and we have 5 grandchildren and 2 are local. So they come and visit, a lot.
Well, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Is there anything else that you like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, one of the things is just to keep on plugging and making the offers. Just because I have that little problem with going into houses and making that offers, to just make those offers to get and try to overcome that part. Most of the people that I knock on the doors with are nice. Most of the people that are you making the offers are nice. There's a few, but just keep on making offers and meeting people. And go to as many events as possible or get on Zoom calls as much as possible. Because the more you get in with the people, the more you're able to connect. And some people, I borrow money from some people that I've met in different meetings. And then I run a Tuesday morning meeting also, and at the IHOP in Cartersville. And I took Bill and Kim Cook are in Florida, and I took over the group while they're in Florida. And so I'm thankful that they did that, because there's been a lot of good deals that have come through that, and a lot of friends that I've met through that. So my recommendation is just to keep on, at these meetings and get your name out there. Everybody's got something unique that they do, and whatever they do, kind of show that to other people, because, it's like my weakness is, like I said, is sometimes talking to the people, and sometimes I bring somebody along and say, can you help make that offer?
Well,
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's great advice, and I think it's also one of the benefits of joining a REIA, because a lot of people bring different things to the table, and when you make all those connections, that's when
Right.
the deals happen. That's when you learn things.
Absolutely. It's the friendships that you have. I'm be in Ohio at the end of the month, and it's the group that we've met. We talk a lot of the different states and what's happening in their state, and it really makes a difference. It makes it. You're not alone doing this. It's a lot easier when you have the support team to help you out with that. And that's why I have the Keller Williams team too, is that they're out there looking too, and they're making phone calls. We don't make too many phone calls, except following up. And we don't do much social media, but we're busy. That's for sure.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Someone just asked a question. What kind of amenities in homes do you like fireplaces, quartz countertops, studies, etc.?
Well, I try to first stay away from HOAs if possible, because they don't, if I paint it the wrong color, then they want me to repaint it again. So that's kind of what I stay away from. But amenities, I'm looking to more upgrade the kitchens and the bathrooms and make them
good ROI, as everyone knows.
Yeah. Those are the best rates of return. The fireplace, it can be, some people like it, some people don't. I personally have 2 fireplaces, and I've been here 4 years, and we have never turned it on. But some people turn fireplaces on all the time, so you've got a limited market, kind of like a swimming pool. I look at it as a swimming pool. Some people love it, some people don't. So I concentrate on my kitchens and master bathrooms. And so that's kind of where I want to, if I've got to knock out a wall or something like that, that's kind of where I want to do. But yeah, I like homes that have a basement, so you have something else to work with too. But that's kind of the amenities itself. You know, a lot of people like the HOA, but I don't.
Understand.
But I have homes in HOAs, and I wish I wouldn't have gotten those.
I know it's a love-hate, and it can be good and bad.
Yeah. I think sometimes I think HOAs, they actually get you more because they know that you're a business and you're trying to, and so they call you on things that a regular homeowner would get away with.
Exactly.
And so I had one that I had pots on the concrete, and it's not on, they can only be on the like potting plants, and they can only be on the grass, stuff like that, you know, just little stuff, you know, you need to pressure wash. So
Well,
I see one of the questions.
Tom, someone just asked, where can they find you?
So I'm in Cartersville. My numbers, if they can call me, it's 404-435-6533, or just, it's my name, Tom Begora at Comcast.net. If they've got questions or something like that, they'd like to reach out to me, that's fine. But yeah, that's kind of, I saw another question too about a realtor or something.
Yeah, how can I find a good realtor being a first-time buyer? Looking to buy a duplex. Cash flow is non-existent here. Boy, they're in California too. That's tough.
Yeah, that's gonna be a little tougher. But what I do is like I said, I'm with Keller Williams, but you can put in your zip code, and there should be able to pull up different agents in the area that does it. And I would interview a couple of them. But I've been an agent, and I also have my broker's license, so I do sell and list homes in the metro area too. So it's just not I'm doing investing. I'm trying to teach people how to do the investing and also run the real estate company. And like I said at the beginning, doing taxes. It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, Tom, we really appreciate you coming on today.
Sure.
And also for being our featured member in the spring issue of
It's
the
an
Real
honor.
Estate Journal.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I put a link in the chat box, but Real Estate Investing Today is your source of industry news. And on there, we have all of the real estate journals going back since we started quite a while ago now. And every quarter, we feature someone like Tom, who's been there, done that, and is willing to share their life experiences with everyone else. So again, Tom, thank you for your willingness, and thanks for being here today. And I'm going to throw it back to Charles.
Thank you.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Tom, before you go too far, I do want to ask you a question kind of as a follow-up. Brad, thank you. It's a great job. Appreciate the insights there, Tom. As you were kind of wrapping up, you made a comment, and I thought it was very interesting. As a realtor, I'm going to ask you this from a realtor perspective.
Okay.
You mentioned interview the realtor, and advice for folks who are out there who are not realtors but are investors, and engaging with, you know, how do you get that transmission to work to get the gears together so you're not grinding gears, but understanding, and really how do you do that? What's a good interview process or a number of questions that you'd suggest?
Well, I would suggest that they would, the big thing is of what their vision is or what their goal is, and try to talk to the realtor and see if they have the same vision and goals. If you're talking to a realtor that has never invested in properties and you want to invest in properties, that's probably not the best match. Okay. But if you're looking for a first-time home buyer and this person works on first-time home buyers, this is probably the place to be. So you have to kind of match, because if they don't know what you're talking about in regards to rental properties, or, you know, is this going to cash flow, or do you know how to do a DSCR loan, or do you know how to do this kind of loan, or how to do financing, and they've never done one, it's going to be a very difficult process.
I'm gonna hold up there. You start throwing acronyms around, I'm gonna ask you to explain your acronyms. So
all right. So a DSCR loan is just a debt service coverage ratio loan. And so you have to cover the note of the rent that you are supposed to get. Now that you don't have to use tax returns. You don't have to use bank statements. You just have to have the 20% down and and own your own home. That's the other part that people forget about that. They're trying to buy a rental property, but they live in an apartment. So a DSCR loan's not going to work. So that kind of loan is a little bit higher on rate, but you don't have as much problems by giving tax returns, and especially if you have multiple properties that are coming and going. So with that kind of loan, it's an investor loan that's good. But if you tell that to a realtor and they don't never did an investment property, they don't know what you're talking about. So you're gonna match. So I try to match your skills to what you guys want with that. Now I'll do first time home buyers. I don't have a problem with that because I've been around for a while and I know the first time home buyers, what I have to do. So I've been having my license almost 30 years or 32 years. So I've been around. I've saw the good, the bad, and the good, I guess. So I know when they're trying to talk, and I also do taxes. So when I do taxes, I can tell them what the tax benefit is in regards to if you buy a rental property and you depreciate it over time, this is what to expect. This is why you need to put it in a corporation. This is why you need to have an LLC. This is why you need to have. So that's a big thing that I can do.
Well,
And a lot of agents don't.
I'll reiterate what Pete said. You're providing excellent advice there. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks.
And thank you, Tom, for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks.
Brad, thank you for doing the interview today and for all your work and providing great information for us across the country on this. So thank you everyone today, and we'll be wrapping up here. We'll give you back your day, and thank you very much. Have a great week.